Welcome to Barty Mountainside. My name is Mark. I work with the Barty Kids Club team, and I am here with a much more familiar face. This is Farmer Nick, and he and I are together for what we hope will be the first of many virtual field trips. Farmer Nick, what's in store for us today?
Well, today we're going to be talking to you guys all about the life cycle of a plant, which are all the stages a plant goes through as it grows. And we're going to go to the high tunnel in the farm to take a look at some stuff that's growing and show you the stages of the life cycle that they're in. And then we'll finish up by planting our own plants.
All right, it's really nice. Let's get going.
So we know that all living things have a life cycle, and knowing the life cycle of plants helps out Farmer Nick and his friend Mighty Mac the tractor out on the farm. Let's take a look at the definition of a life cycle. A life cycle, the stages a living thing passes through from the beginning of its life until its death. Let's jump over and take a little closer look at the life cycle of a plant. Farmer Nick, where does it start out?
So, just like a butterfly or a frog starts from an egg, so a plant starts from a seed. Inside the seed are all of the things a baby plant needs to first start growing.
I think now would be a great time for us to take a look at some of the seeds you found around Mountainside.
Sounds good. All right. So we thought we'd take a break from our presentation to show you some of the seeds that we found here around Mountainside. So we went out and we looked around and we found a whole bunch of different seeds that you guys might be able to find in your own backyards this time of year. So right here we have a pine cone. Everyone should be familiar with this guy. The pine cone is actually a seed pod, and inside the little pieces of the pine cone, each of the little segments, you can find a seed. So here's our pine cone seed right here. This is the part that's actually going to fall on the ground and grow a new pine tree. Next, we have a black walnut. A black walnut is a lot like the walnuts that you guys would find in the store, but they grow wild and are native to this part of the world. They drop a big green fruit that breaks down and decomposes and leaves behind this really hard shell. It's hard to crack open, and inside is the walnut or the seed. Here we have an acorn. You guys should be familiar with this. It's a squirrel's favorite food. And the acorn is the seed of the oak tree. This is the little hat. The little hat of the acorn is the part that attaches to the tree, and that part comes off, and what you're left with is the nut inside this shell here. Next is a bit of an unusual one. This is a tulip poplar. Tulip poplars have really big, beautiful orange and white flowers that look kind of like tulips. That's where they get their name. And each of these little weird guys here is a different seed. So if we take one off like this, you have an individual segment, and inside this here is the seed. Next, we have a mimosa plant. This is a tree with kind of wispy leaves and beautiful pink flowers that look like pom-poms. And this here is the seed pod for the mimosa tree. It's kind of like a bean. Inside, when we break it open, we actually find all the seeds in there. And this is what will grow into a new mimosa tree.
I hope that you're ready for a tough challenge. If you don't have a Farmer Nick nearby like I do for a resource, ask a parent for help or permission to go online and do a little research. Then, get out a piece of paper and see if you can match the seeds, the letters, with the correct tree by number. Are you ready for the answers? Well, let's get started. Farmer Nick, let's start with A, the pine cone.
The pine cone goes to tree number 3. If you look closely at this tree, you'll see the small pine needles. B goes to tree number 4. If you look closely at this tree, you'll see the pink flowers that make you know it's a mimosa. Tree number 5 is a black walnut. This one might be a little tougher, but if you look at the leaves in the picture, you'll be able to notice it next time you're out.
This one I know if you don't mind, Farmer Nick. These acorns go with tree number 1. I recognize that leaf anywhere. But I'll be honest, I need a little help with the next one. Which one's that again?
That's the tulip poplar. Note the beautiful yellow and orange flowers that look kind of like tulips on its leaves. Look up in the trees next time you're out in the woods and see if you can spot some.
How'd you guys do? I gotta be honest, I only knew 2 to start with. Alright, we're back. So stage number 1's the seed. Farmer Nick, what comes next?
The next stage in a plant's life is germination and growth. Germination is a big word that means to sprout. So the moment a plant emerges from its seed and starts to grow, that's germination. The growth are all of the stages that a plant goes through as it puts on more leaves and gets taller and wider.
Farmer Nick, let's jump away real quick and show that video of a lima bean going through growth and germination. Then we'll come on back and see what's next.
Alright, so we've taken a look at stage 2, germination and growth. What's in store for stage 3?
Stage 3 in a plant's life cycle is reproduction. This is the stage when a plant is finished growing and starts to make flowers, set fruit, and grow more seeds. So a flower will open up and it will be pollinated by a bee, butterfly, or other insect, and then the flower will close and a fruit will begin to grow from where it was. Inside this fruit are the seeds.
All right, welcome everybody. We're down here in the high tunnel now. This is where we keep our plants in the wintertime and in the early spring because we have all of the doors closed, we have a roof over our heads, so we can keep the plants nice and warm and toasty while it's still warming up outside. So that means that these plants are a little farther along in their life cycle than a lot of the plants that you might see outside are. So these guys here are in their flowering stage, okay? So this is the flowering and reproductive stage of growth. So all of these plants have grown through their germination. They've gone through all of their growth. And then now that it's warming up, they've put up a little head here and started to flower. And you can barely see it, but right where the flowers used to be, there's a little seed pod growing on the side there. So what these flowers are doing is they're blooming. They smell really nice. You guys can't smell them, but it smells great in here. And they're attracting all of the pollinators that might be here in the garden. Some of the pollinators that we see are butterflies, we see flies, we see some birds every once in a while, different insects that can come in here, different insects and animals that can come in here and pollinate our flowers.
The final stage of a plant's life cycle is death. While this is a sad stage, it's also a natural part of the plant's life cycle. The plant will die and begin to decompose, and the old plant will feed the soil, where the seeds will fall and start the life cycle all over again.
It seems like Mighty Mac has all of his life cycle pictures mixed up. He needs your help to get them back in order. Take a little bit of time, look at the pictures below, and can you help Mighty Mac put them in order from 1 through 5?
All right, so our first stage is the seed, and that's represented by picture B. Here we see our seeds in the soil. The next stage was germination and growth. Here we see our seeds have germinated and begun to grow. Take a look at the roots which are growing below the plant. Our next stage is reproduction. We have 2 pictures which represent this stage. The first are our flowers, And the next are our fruit. Here the peppers have grown from where the flowers used to be. Take a look at the very top of the peppers. You can see the old wilted flowers. And I bet you know this last one. Here we have our final stage, death. These plants have died and wilted, but from where they were, new ones will grow.
Hey everybody, we're back. We're gonna finish up today's episode with Farmer Nick giving us a quick tutorial on how to plant a seed.
What I have here is a little coconut pot. I like these coconut pots because after my seedling is done growing, I can put it right in the ground and it'll decompose because it's made out of coconut hair. Next, I have some soil. You can use any potting soil mix that you have. All you need is for something that's nice and fluffy and light. You don't want to use the soil from your backyard because it's going to have a little bit too much clay in it. The water probably won't drain very well, and your seedling might not get a good start. So you're going to take your nice fluffy potting soil. I like to use my hands, but you can use a shovel if you want. And you're going to fill up your pot. Now, you don't want to fill the pot all the way to the top, because if you do that, when you water it, the water will fall off the sides rather than going down into the pot. So if you can see, I have probably about ½ an inch of room in between my soil and my pot. Once I've filled my pot, I'm just going to give it a little tap to get the soil all in place. I'm not going to smush it because the roots and water that are going to be in the soil later need plenty of space for air. So I'm going to take a popsicle stick and I'm going to use it to make some holes for my seeds. A good rule of thumb is this. You're going to take your seed and you're going to plant it twice as deep as the seed is big. Then I will place my peas in the holes and cover them up. Give it plenty of water to get started. And then I'm going to find a nice sunny place for my pot, whether inside my house or outside in the yard. It's just about warm enough this year, so wherever you have room for it, you can put your potted plant and watch it grow. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy growing.